Today marked the 14th day of Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial in New York. The judge overseeing the case denied Trump's attorney's motion for a mistrial, as well as their request to modify his gag order. Here to take a closer look at the trial, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tom Dupree and our own Bob Costa. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. 2 weeks, Bob, I know it's probably been a lot longer for you covering this. Tom, I want to start with you because we had the final day of Stormy Daniels' testimony, and there have been a lot of attacks from Trump's lawyers about her credibility. What do you make of her as a witness in this case?
I thought she was much better today than she was on Tuesday. I think that she grew and came into herself on the stand. On Tuesday, I felt that she was nervous. She was halting. I thought she contradicted herself at places. I felt that today she was much more poised. I think she frankly had something for both sides. I think on the prosecutor's side, I think she did a very good job holding her ground. The Trump defense team was pushing hard, trying to expose inconsistencies, biases, things like that. She came back, clever rejoinder. She spoke more slowly today than she did on Tuesday. So overall, I think it was a more effective presentation. I thought the defense got the better of Tuesday. I thought the prosecutors got the better of today.
And Bob, you've been covering this. What has Trump's reaction been to her testimony? I mean, just watching how he's been taking this trial in.
Well, at one moment, the judge, Juan Merchan, said Trump better stop cursing because it was audible that he was cursing inside the courtroom, as Stormy Daniels and others have testified. He's clearly frustrated talking to his allies, his legal team. He's simmering with anger about how this trial is unfolding, but he's mostly contained with the gag order when he's at the courthouse itself.
Yeah, I mean, to that notion, though, Bob, we've been talking about, the courtroom and the campaign. He's still able to go out there and make public statements, essentially, all week.
He's making statements, but the statements he's trying to make inside the Republican Party are he wants to hold fundraisers. He wants to have rallies. This is a burden for him politically. They don't see it as a burden on his political standing. Yes, it could affect him with some voters. There's no guarantee that people aren't paying attention. At the same time, Trump's character has been baked into the political conversation in this country for a long time. So even my Democratic sources don't believe this trial or a conviction will change the trajectory of this campaign. But they do know, regardless of whether he's convicted or not, it sucks up his time. And that's a real political cost.
And Tom, let's talk about the trajectory of this case, because the Trump legal team wants to push for a mistrial. They haven't been successful yet. But what do you make of their argument? And is there an opportunity for them to be granted a mistrial at some point?
I think the likelihood of them getting a mistrial is close to zero. I don't fault the defense lawyers for doing it. I mean, that's what defense lawyers do. And frankly, as a legal matter, they have to make those motions to preserve it for appeal. So in that sense, they're doing their job. Is it a realistic likelihood they're going to get a mistrial? No. I think the big question for the defense lawyers is when the ball goes to the other court and it's time for them to present their case, what they're going to do. Are they going to call former President Trump to testify? My best guess is no. And frankly, if I were his defense lawyer and he wanted to testify, I would tackle him before he got to the witness stand, because I think he'd be a dreadful witness for them. But they are going to have to decide strategically what they are going to do when the spotlight shifts to them. And it's their chance to tell the jury what actually happened.
And in addition to this case, we got news this week that the judge in the classified documents case is postponing that case pretty much indefinitely. I want to talk about kind of the fundamentals of that and then the politics also. So, Tom, I guess I'll start with you. What do you make of that?
Well, it should not be a surprise to anyone. This is a judge who was clearly not going to be fast-tracking this case. She is a judge who likes to hear argument on motions. There are some judges who decide on the papers, meaning they read the briefs and they decide in their own chambers. There are other judges, like Judge Cannon, who enjoy having all the lawyers come in and have a big hearing. And that's great, but it does string things out. So the fact that she has now scheduled a whole sequence of motions, she's taken the trial date off the calendar entirely. From my perspective, I think the odds right now that there was a trial in that case before the election, I would say somewhere between 0 and 0.
Yeah, so that's what's interesting, Bob, too, because it could be a situation where this hush money case is the only case that Trump sees, essentially, before the election.
It's possible. It's going to be intriguing to watch as a reporter, as an American, what the Justice Department decides to do, what Judge Tanya Chutkin on the federal level in D.C. decides to do on January 6th. We're all waiting for the Supreme Court to weigh in on presidential immunity. If they decide to kick down the question to lower courts, it's going to be hard for the Justice Department to move forward on some of these cases, though it's not impossible. But there's a real decision to be made. If Judge Chutkan decides to move ahead and have a trial, maybe August, September, October, November of an election year, what does that mean for the country, for the case itself? It's a charged moment legally and politically, but that doesn't mean it still won't go forward. But what happened in the last few days, it could lower the chances of federal trials going ahead.
Yeah, Tom, to Bob's point, how much would that kind of the politics of the moment and the calendar factor into decisions here? I mean, we've seen some decisions made at the 11th hour.
You know, that's one of those things they don't teach you in judges school about how to balance that. Look, I agree with Bob. It becomes very difficult for Judge Chutkan if this whole question of, well, is he immune? What's the scope of the immunity? Even if all that gets sorted out in, say, September, is she really going to schedule a trial in October?
Right.
Probably not. But again, there are no rules on this. It's just a judgment call by the judge. My best guess is I don't think she would hold a trial in October because I think it very well could span into November and December. So he literally could be on trial as he is potentially being elected president. My guess is she would push everything back, but we'll see what happens. I do think the Supreme Court is not going to fully resolve this, and there's going to be more work to be done in the lower courts.
Okay, so a lot of waiting. And of course, Jack Smith, as Bob, you have noted, is looking at all of this and waiting too.
He is.
All right, Bob and Tom, thank you very much for your time and reporting. We appreciate it.